What's up, gamers? It's Above, and in today's video, we'll be covering 10 exotic primary weapons that will be game changers for you in Witch Queen. These are weapons that have always been strong, but haven't been able to compete for the exotic slot because weapons like Witherhoard, Izanagi's Burden, and Gjallarhorn exist. Giving up those types of exotics for a primary weapon just hasn't been worth it, but that will be changing next season. In the most recent TWAB, Bungie casually noted that exotic primaries and trace rifles are getting buffed by 40% against red bar enemies. This will apply to all exotic primary weapons, excluding Vex Mythoclast, as it received that same buff during Season of the Lost. To put this in perspective, 40% is greater than Weapons of Light and is like having max stacks of particle deconstruction on your primary weapons. Considering they produce heavy ammo bricks more than any other weapon type and have unlimited ammo, they'll definitely compete for your exotic slot next season. If you guys enjoyed today's video, a like and subscription would be greatly appreciated. Now let's get into it. Kicking us off at number 10, we have Outbreak Perfected. Pulses will be receiving a flat 10% buff next season on top of the 40% buff to exotic primaries that I mentioned earlier. Now, most of you know Outbreak for its nanite swarms and how powerful it used to be during the auto-loading meta. It's not bad by any means, but it's hard to justify using right now over other exotic options. This buff, however, will also impact its nanite swarm damage based on Bungie's phrasing in this week's TWAB. Rapid fire pulses are already pretty decent inside of PvE, and this change will allow Outbreak's nanites to shine once again. An honorable mention in this slot goes to the No Time to Explain. It's heavily slept on in PvE, as it already does a decent job in endgame content due to its hard-hitting archetype. This pulse is going to chew through ads, and the turret will also benefit from these buffs. In my personal opinion, No Time may actually be more viable in a day 1 raid setting than Outbreak, but both will be solid picks next season. Coming in at number 9, we have the Monarque. This exotic bow is already viable in endgame content. It's a top tier option against overload champions thanks to its poison tick damage. It's also decent for ad clear as the poison has an AoE effect that spreads to surrounding enemies on a precision hit. This will only get stronger in Witch Queen as that 40% will apply to the poison as well, meaning it will become an ad clear monster on top of being a great anti-champion weapon. It comes in at number 9 for a couple reasons. First, this weapon is already solid in the current sandbox, so it's not going to see a game-changing overhaul like we'll see with other weapons on this list. The second is the fact that there are other exotic bows that do a similar job, but better in my opinion. With that said, the Monarque will still be a solid weapon in the new sandbox, so be sure to pick it up if you don't have it already. At number 8, we have the RISKRUNNER. We all know how good this exotic can be when Arc Conductor gets going, but without the perk active, it's pretty underwhelming. The buff should help RISKRUNNER become far more viable in endgame content, whether the perk is active or not. When procced, this gun evaporates rooms of ads in seconds. It not only chains lightning between enemies, it also refunds bullets and gives you resistance to incoming arc damage. Though I don't love weapons that rely on taking damage to shine, this gun can be a lifesaver in arc-heavy activities. The 40% buff will definitely make this a viable option next season. Coming in at number 7, we have TICUU'S Divination. This bow is already a fan favorite due to its exotic perk, Sacred Flame, that causes enemies to explode after being primed. This makes it one of the few exotic primaries that excels in endgame activities at the moment and will only get better with these sandbox changes. Similar to every other exotic perk mentioned so far, the explosive damage from TICUU'S will also be hitting 40% harder in Witch Queen, meaning ad clear will be easier than ever before. The thing is, this weapon already does extremely well in endgame content, which means this buff won't be as impactful for TICUU'S as it will be for other weapons on this list. However, it takes the number 7 spot due to how strong this exotic is and will continue to be. At number 6, we have the Dead Man's Tale. This exotic scout has wreaked havoc in PvP, and as a result, it's receiving a hipfire RPM nerf next season. You probably felt your skin crawl when I mentioned its name. Even with this slight nerf, I see DMT being a heavily used PvE weapon in Season 16. The combination of Cranial Spike, which increases its damage on successive precision hits, and Vorpal, which gives a 20% bonus against champions, will be a nasty combination for Anti-Barrier Scout next season. Pair this with the fact that it will hit 40% harder on red bars and is easy to use at all ranges, and you have yourself one of the most versatile primary weapons in the game. It should consistently 1 or 2 tap red bars next season and break champions easily, so be sure to farm a Vorpal roll of the scout before Presage goes away. Otherwise, you'll have to rely on Xur to deliver the goods in Witch Queen. Coming in at number 5, we have the bad Juju. Now, this one may catch you off guard a little bit, but hear me out. Super Regen's been significantly nerfed in PvE, with longer ability cooldowns than ever before. But Bad Juju's exotic perk, String of Curses, has a lot going for it to help us out. It not only ramps up damage as you defeat enemies, it also refunds ammo similar to the way Subsistence does, and grants super energy based on the strength of your String of Curses stacks. As I mentioned earlier, exotic pulses will be receiving a 50% buff in total, which means maintaining these stacks will be easier than ever before. This could single-handedly be your answer to the super regen nerfs, allowing you to spec into stats like Discipline and Recovery instead of Intellect. We may finally see Bad Juju return to its D1 glory days in Witch Queen. At number 4, we have AGER'S SCEPTER. This exotic trace rifle is one of the most unique weapons in Destiny, standing as one of the few kinetic stasis weapons. It fills a very unique niche in the sandbox and can take advantage of stasis aspects and fragments that make its freeze capabilities extremely strong in PvE. Though its super empowerment is being reworked according to the most recent TWAB, it will also be less reliant on the additional damage from its empowerment. 40% more damage goes a long way with the special weapon, so it will be much stronger in general, and when it is ramped up, it's going to chew through adds like a machine gun. I'm excited to see what this thing can do next season, especially since trace rifles have been on the weaker side of the sandbox for a while now. Diving into the top 3, we have the HUCKLEBERRY. I'm sure most of you clicked on this video expecting this weapon to be high on the list, and it is for good reason. The HUCKLEBERRY is already one of the strongest exotics in the game, but since it doesn't have an AoE type perk like other weapons on this list, the bonus damage will really make an impact on this gun's performance with this update. The 40% buff will make it easier to ramp up the OG Rampage stacks, allowing you to top off your magazine more frequently with Ride the Bull. This means you'll almost never have to reload, and maintaining your damage stacks will be easier than ever before. With the HUCKLEBERRY fully spun up, it's easily one of the best weapons in the game. These perks are built to thrive on more base weapon damage. You'll be spending less time reloading and more time riding the bull, turning this gun into a monster. At number 2, we have the Trinity GHOUL. This is arguably the best ad clear weapon in the game for on-level content, but struggles to kill ads in under-leveled activities. The Lightning Rod perk simply doesn't scale as well as TICUU'S and MONARQUES perks do, which is why you rarely see it used in Grandmaster content. With this change, however, it should start to one-hit enemies in under-leveled activities, and if that's the case, this thing's going to be easy mode. When Lightning Rod gets going, it makes it one of the most fun weapons to use in the entire game. You get to chain lightning between ads over and over and over again, and you don't even need to hit the target for it to do damage. The radius of the lightning is extremely forgiving, and I have no doubt that Trinity GHOUL is going to be a game changer next season. This is easily one of the weapons that will benefit the most from the 40% buffs, so keep an eye out for it. And finally, at number 1, we have the Teraba. This weapon has been gaining popularity in PvP, but is still pretty underused on the PvE side of the game. If you haven't used this gun recently, definitely give it a try. It's already insane. The footage you see in the background is from a Master VOG that we ran recently, where I was slightly under the recommended power level. As you can see, it already shreds with Ravenous Beast active. You're telling me this thing's getting a 40% damage increase? Oh, and by the way, they're adjusting Ravenous Beast to maintain half of its charge when you stow the weapon, which means you're no longer punished for swapping to a special to clean up things like majors and champions. This gun is going to be absolutely ridiculous next season, so if you haven't already picked it up from the exotic monument in the tower, do yourself a favor and pick it up as soon as possible. This weapon is going to dominate PvE next season. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, be sure to drop a like and leave a comment down below with the weapon that you're most excited about using next season. That's it from me, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Peace!